Good afternoon. Thank you. And welcome to one of Family Network on Disabilities, various informational sessions here on our social media pages. My name is Latasha Berg. I'm the Multicultural Outreach Coordinator for Family Network on Disabilities. We want to say thank you for joining us here today. And we are going to discuss a few topics that may be of interest to fathers. So thank you for joining us again for one of these info sessions. Today, we are going to talk about Social Security, SSI and SSDI more specifically. So we'll discuss services and resources that are available for families. To begin, we just want to let you know that navigating the process doesn't have to be difficult. So today, we'll hone in on some of those ideas that may help dads understand what the application process looks like, what eligibility looks like, and when there are special cases and populations involved, and how to navigate denials should there be any. So this series is geared toward fathers, and we want you to be able to come to us and ask for help should you need to, and understand that it's okay to talk about your feelings and even break down if you have to. This session is geared toward fathers and letting you know that it's okay. It's okay to cry if you need to. It's okay to not be okay. And should you need to seek out therapy or even other forms of support, that's just fine. It's okay to understand that you might not really know everything. We want you to feel comfortable. And one of our models at FND is that we are here to help. And that's exactly what we intend to do, especially when we are doing outreach in this form, because we have not, as of yet, returned to face-to-face meetings. Face-to-face looks like what we are doing right now. So let's talk about a couple of things that we will discuss within the webinar. We'll talk about the application process, and also if there are factors for special eligibilities. And finally, we'll get into a few resources that we have for Florida families. Now, Family Network on Disabilities is a PTI, which stands for Parent Training and Information. Our organization caters to parents who are here in the state of Florida. However, if you're watching us from a different state, please take the information that you received today and adapt it to the state that you would live in. This is a great starting place for understanding some of those subtle nuances that you might not have known previously about Social Security and how it may impact your family. And so this is our hope that today you will gain a little bit more insight. And should you need any other information, we are only a click away. So let's talk about Social Security in the form of SSI and SSDI. So we will talk about Social Security disability insurance and supplemental security income. Those are what those acronyms stand for, SSDI and SSI, what you need to know. So we are going to, again, say thank you, welcome. I'm glad that you are joining us here today. It's a great idea to understand as much as you can. Knowledge is always power, and learning those different things about the resources and supports that can help your family is always a good thing. We are family driven and a family centered organization here for the state of Florida. We help families for those children who have been born with disabilities and other special needs, and also for those families who have children with complex medical needs. We are a nonprofit 501c3 right here in the state of Florida. And one of the things that makes FND unique is that the majority of the board members, the management staff, the program staff myself included, we're all family members, parents, or persons with disabilities themselves. So it's that learned experience and those shared experiences that give us that approachability and help us to be able to help you as well. Not only do we talk the talk, but we also walk the walk. Now, before we get started, there's one very important clarification that I'd like to make. We do not act as formal attorneys or doctors or even mental health professionals. The information that you receive here in today's workshop cannot be considered legal or medical advice. We don't interpret the law, and we don't give you medical or mental health advice of any type. However, what we do is provide information and resources and give you the support that you might need so that you can make informed choices for your family. So again, thank you and welcome. From our 3 regional PTIs, Poppin, PSN, and PEN, and our statewide medical program, Family to Family, Family STAR, which stands for Support, Training, Assistance, and Resources. So let's go ahead and get started. So in today's presentation, we will discuss Social Security. We will discuss the SSDI and SSI application process. We'll also talk a little bit about eligibility for special cases and populations, help you to understand what your rights are and how to navigate the process of denial should one arise, and give you a few practical resources for here in the state of Florida. So there are 2 Social Security programs, and they are identified here by these 2 representations you see on the screen. On the left, you see Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, and on the right, you see Supplemental Security Income, which is SSI. Let's talk about both of these different aspects. So with SSDI, it provides benefits to disabled or blind persons who are insured by workers' contributions to the Social Security Trust Fund. So these contributions are based on your earnings or those of your spouse or parents in the case of children. And that's required by the FICA or FICA. So that's the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. Title II of the Social Security Act authorizes these type of payments through SSDI, and your dependents may also be eligible for benefits from your earnings record. So on the reverse, you see here on the right-hand side, there's SSI. The SSI program makes cash assistance payments to aged, blind, and disabled persons, and that includes children who have limited income and resources. The federal government funds SSI from general tax revenues. Title 16 of the Social Security Act authorizes those benefits through SSI. So with both of these programs, with SSDI and SSI, income disability programs are the largest of several federal programs that provide assistance to people who have disabilities. Now, while these 2 programs are different in many ways, both are administered by the Social Security Administration, and only individuals who have a disability and meet medical criteria may qualify for benefits under either of the programs. Let's start with SSDI, so Social Security Disability Insurance. To get a better understanding of what SSDI is, we will review who qualifies for the program and how a child could be eligible under the parent's SSDI. So first, we need to understand that SSDI is an insurance. That's an insurance that you have been contributing to throughout your employment span. So it's a protection if you were to become disabled prior to the age of retirement. So as defined by the SSA, which is the Social Security Administration, the Social Security Disability Insurance Program, or SSDI, pays benefits to you and certain family members if you are insured meaning that you work long enough and recently enough and paid Social Security taxes on your earnings. Now, we have a link for these. And if you would like to receive any of the links that we discussed or more information after the conclusion of this webinar, please use the RSVP link and put in your info so that we might be able to contact you with those specific links. So here is how you qualify for SSDI. So in order to qualify for those Social Security disability benefits, you must have worked in jobs that first must be covered by Social Security. And you have a medical condition that meets Social Security's definition of disability. You see right here under number 1. So in general, monthly benefits are paid to people who are unable to work for a year or more because of a disability. So remember, you have to have a medical condition that meets that definition of disability, and also you must be unable to work for a year or more because of that disability. So let's talk about the definition of disability. So the definition of disability under Social Security is different than other programs. No benefits are payable for partial disability or for short-term disability. So there's a strict definition of what that disability will look like. Social Security program rules assume that working families have access to other resources to providing support during periods of short-term disabilities, and that includes workers' compensation, insurance, savings, and even investments. So when you're filing for SSDI, it's important to note that the diagnosis or the condition are not the most relevant thing that the Social Security Administration is looking for. They are, in fact, looking for how the condition affects your ability in everyday life and how it affects you in gaining, attaining, and maintaining employment, and how the condition affects you in specific activities. So there's a 5-step process to determine your eligibility under the disability definition. Number 1, are you working? If you're working and your earnings average more than a certain amount each month, we generally wouldn't consider the person to be disabled. The amount changes each year. So for the current figure, you'd have to see what the annual update looks like. And if you're not working or your monthly earnings average the current amount or less, the state agency then looks at what your medical condition is. So that leads to number 2, is your medical condition severe? So for the state agency to decide that you're disabled, your medical condition must significantly limit your ability to do basic work activities such as walking, sitting, remembering, for at least 1 year. Now, if your medical condition is not that severe, the state agency will not consider you disabled. If your condition is that severe, the state agency moves on to the next step. So step 3, is your medical condition on the list of impairments? So the state agency has a list of impairments that describes medical conditions that are considered so severe that they are automatically qualifiers as being disabled, as defined by the law. So if your condition or a combination of medical conditions is not on that list, the state agency looks to see if your condition is as severe as a condition that is on the list. And if the severity of the medical condition meets or equals that of a listed impairment, the state agency will decide that you are, in fact, disabled. If it does not, the state agency goes on to step 4. And step 4 is, can you do the work you did before? So at this stage, the state agency will decide if your medical condition prevents you from being able to do the work that you did before. And if it does not, the agency will decide that you are not disabled. And if it does, then they move on to step 5. So step 5 is, can you do any other type of work? So if you cannot do the work that you did in the past, the agency will look to see if you would be able to do other work. It evaluates your medical condition, your age, your education, past work experiences, and any skills you may have that could be used to do other work. And if you cannot do other work, the agency will decide that you are disabled. If you can do other work, the agency will decide that you are not disabled. So remember that 5-step process. So we think in terms of how much work do you need? So in addition to meeting the definition of actually having a disability, you must have worked long enough and recently enough under Social Security to qualify for those disability benefits. The Social Security work credits, they're based on your total wages for the year or total self-employment income. And you can earn up to 4 credits each year. So benefits for a dependent child under the age of 18. The child's disability doesn't need to be considered when it's deciding if he or she qualifies for benefits as a dependent. So the child's benefits normally stop at age 18 unless one of 2 things, or both of these things. He or she is in a full-time student in an elementary or high school, and benefits can continue until age 19, or if he or she has a disability. So let's talk about benefits for dependent adults that are disabled before they turn age 22. So an adult child, meaning an adopted child, or in some cases a stepchild, grandchild, or even a step-grandchild, must be unmarried at age 18 or older, have a disability that started before age 22, and meet the definition of disability for adults. For example, I'll give you a quick example. If a worker starts collecting Social Security retirement benefits at age, say, 62, he has a 38-year-old son, and the son has cerebral palsy since birth. So the son will start collecting a disabled child's benefit on the father's Social Security record. So it's not necessary that the adult child have ever worked. Benefits are paid based on the parent's earning record. So an adult child must not have any significant earnings or any substantial earnings as well. So the amount of earnings that we consider substantial increases each year. In 2020, this means working and earning more than $1,260 per month. So remember, those earnings are going to change each year. So you would have to go in to their website, find out what that earnings cap is for the year that you are looking to start receiving benefits, or even to apply for benefits, and find out what that earnings cap actually is. So let's talk about supplemental security income, that's SSI. This is the federal income supplement program that's funded by general tax revenues, and it's not funded by Social Security taxes. So remember, this is going to be a little different from the SSDI. So let's talk about eligibility. So eligibility is for anyone who has aged to 65 or older, is blind or disabled, and who has limited income, has limited resources, and is a US citizen or national, or in one of certain categories of aliens. You must also be a resident of one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia or the North Mariana Islands, is not confined to an institution such as a hospital or a prison at the government's expense, or applies for any other cash benefits or payments for which he or she may be eligible. For example, pensions or other Social Security benefits. Also gives SSA permission to contact any financial institution and request any financial records about yourself. So there also would be a few eligibility requirements where after you would file an application and meet other certain requirements as well. So what is blindness? We saw as one of the criteria for SSI. So what is blindness for an adult or a child? Well, if you have central visual acuity for a distance of 2200 or less in your better eye with use of a corrected lens, or you have a visual field limitation in your better eye, which is the widest diameter of the visual field, subtends an angle no greater than 20 degrees. Or if you have a visual impairment but are not blind according to the SSA rules as defined above, you may still be eligible for SSI benefits on the basis of disability. So what does disabled mean for a child? We talked first about blind. Now, what does the term disabled mean? Well, if a child's under 18 and has medically determinable physical or mental impairment, and that includes emotional or learning problems that results marked and severe functional limitations and can be expected to result in death, or has lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. So these are the technical terms for disabled. So we discussed blind, we discussed disabled for a child. Now, what does disabled mean for an adult? So if you're age 18 or older, you may be considered disabled if you have a medically determinable physical or mental impairment, and that includes emotional or learning problem, which results in the inability to do any substantial gainful activity and can be expected to result in death, or has lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months, which is 1 year. So it's the same basic criteria as deemed for a child for disabled as well. So I want to stress another a type of info share here, and that is about compassionate allowances. That's an acronym CAL. So compassionate allowances are a way to quickly define diseases or other medical conditions that meet Social Security standards for disability benefits. Now, these conditions will primarily include certain cancers, adult brain disorders, and a number of rare diseases that affect children. So that compassionate allowance initiative helps reduce those waiting times to reach a disability determination for individuals who have the most serious types of disabilities. So by incorporating different types of technology, the agency can easily identify potential compassionate allowances to quickly make decisions. The SSI receives information from the public, advocacy groups, comments received from the Social Security and Disability Determination Services communities, counsel from medical and scientific experts, research with the NIH, and that's the National Institutes of Health, and information received from past public outreach hearings regarding potential conditions which would be under compassionate allowances. And we have more information on the CAL, which is the compassionate allowance. And if you would like to receive that information, please use that RSVP link that is in the description, and we can send those links out to you directly. So we did talk about limited income as well. What is limited income for purposes of SSI? Well, that includes money you earn from work, money you receive from other sources such as Social Security benefits, workers' comp, unemployment benefits, Department of Veteran Affairs, friends or relatives who give money to you, and also free food or shelter. So what are limited resources? Well, resources for the purposes of the SSI are things you own, things that you have in your possession, such as cash or bank accounts, stocks, US savings bonds, land, vehicles, personal property, life insurance, or anything else that you own that could be converted to cash and used for food or shelter. So the SSI limits for resources that you can count are as follows. You see at the very bottom, for an individual or a child, $2,000 and $3,000 per couple. So how do you apply for those benefits? Remember, if you would like to a list of all of these links that we talk about in the webinar, please use the RSVP link so we can send them to you after the conclusion of the presentation. So how do you apply for benefits? Well, if you want to take a screenshot of this particular slide, this would be a good time to do so. Apply online at ssa.gov/benefits/disability/. You can also give them a call at 1-800-772-1213. And there's also the TTY line if you are deaf or hard of hearing, or you can have someone else to call for you. You may also visit your local Social Security office to apply without making an appointment and anticipate a longer wait time. And with the advent of our current pandemic situation, those wait times may be significantly longer. It would be a good idea to call first to find out what protocols are in place before you go to an office. Some places still are not taking appointments for in person as of now. So it would be a good thing to find out what the office would entail, how you may be able to contact them, and use either of these vehicles that you see here on the screen to find out how you may be able to apply for those benefits. We want you to know your rights. You have the right to apply. Anyone can apply for SSI. There's no charge at all to apply. You have the right to receive help from Social Security, and they will complete the application forms for you based on information you give, all the info that you supply. You can get help, and they will help you get the documents that you need to show that you might meet the SSI eligibility requirements. So if you're applying because you have a disability, or you're applying because you are blind, and they decide that the medical information needed to make a determination is not available from your existing sources, they'll pay for you to have a medical exam or test and make the appointment for you. Now, if you need a medical exam or test, you must go to the exam or that test before they can determine whether you're eligible to receive SSI. In some circumstances, they may also pay for your travel costs to get to and from that exam or test. You also have the right to have a representative. You can have someone, or you may appoint someone as a representative to help you with your SSI claim and go with you to your appointments as well. You also have the right to a notice in which they will notify you in writing of any decision about your SSI eligibility or change in your benefit amount. They'll also send you copies of all notices to your representative if you have one. Each notice about your eligibility or change in benefit amount will explain your appeal rights. And that leads to the next topic, is having the right to examine your file. So you or either your appointed representative may request or examine to get a copy of the information that is in your case file. Also, you or your representative may review and copy the laws, regulations, and even the policy statements used in deciding your case. And you also have the right to appeal. So you can appeal most determinations that are going to be made about your eligibility for SSI, or changes that have been made in the benefit amount that you will receive. So in order to appeal a decision, there are 4 different levels. You have the right to appeal that decision, and it's made about whether or not you are entitled to benefits. This part is key. You must request an appeal in writing within 60 days of receiving the decision. So when SSA makes a first determination about your claim, they'll send you a letter, and it's going to explain the determination along with guidance and other steps on what level of appeal you should select. So there are 4 levels. First one is reconsideration, and that's a complete review of your claim by someone who did not take part in the first determination. So they'll look at all the evidence that's submitted and used in the original determination, and plus review any new evidence which may come about. So the next step is a hearing before an administrative law judge. And that hearing is conducted by this person. And this administrative law judge will have had no part in the original determination or the reconsideration on your case. So after submitting your request for a hearing, you'll receive a confirmation package, and that's going to explain what the hearing process will entail for you. Next, it goes to review, and that's review by the appeals council. And they will look at all the requests for review, but it may deny a request if it believes that the hearing decision was supported and in accordance with Social Security law and regulations. So if the appeals council decides to review the case, it will either decide your case itself or return it to an administrative law judge for further review. So if you disagree with the hearing decision, you may request a review by Social Security's Appeals Council online. And then it goes to federal court review. If you disagree still with the appeal council's decision, or if the appeal council decides not to review your case, you can file a civil suit in federal district court. And this is the last and final level of the appeals process. So you can request an appeal online for a reconsideration. You can request for a hearing by an administrative law judge and a review by the appeals council, even if you live outside of the United States. So all of these different aspects, we hope that you have gotten a quick overview of what SSDI and what SSI looks like and how you can apply for those benefits, what those special cases look like for certain populations, and also if the decision is not to your satisfaction, how to appeal that decision. Remember, should you need any further information, please use the RSVP link that is in the description so that we might send you added info at the conclusion of the presentation. So we just wanted to say thank you once more from Family Network on Disabilities. All 3 of our regional PTIs are the statewide program Family Star, also F&D Advocates, and Trust Services. Should you need further information, you can visit us online at www.fndusa.org. Also for ESE downloadable resources. Now, these are digital resources that are optimized not to take up a lot of space on your hard drive. You can download them by going to www.fndusa.org/ESE download. What you'll find are a great repository of one-pagers that you can keep in certain files. If you need to have more information at your ready, it's very, very simple. It only takes a click. And you can store this information right on your devices. If you're not able to sit through a full webinar or you are limited on time, this is a great resource for you that you will find all the information in one complete compartment of space, one-pagers that give you the same type of information that you would get inside a webinar. Our resources are in English and in Spanish, and we invite you to join us on either one of our social media channels for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Remember, we at FND are here to help, and that's one thing we try to do with our outreach, is to make sure that our families are able to get the information that they need in the manner that best suits them. So thank you again for joining us. And if you need more information, please contact the Family Network on Disabilities. You can do so at 1-800-825-5736. Again, that number, 1-800-825-5736. 5736. Remember, these are just a quick overview of all of those different aspects that we talked about with Social Security and SSI and SSDI. So remember, the RSVP link that is right in your description, please use it. Put in the information that you would need, and that is the way that we will be able to send you all the links that we discussed today in our presentation. Remember, we gave you a quick overview on the application process, special eligibility, and how you would be eligible for certain populations, and also a few resources for Florida families and how you might be able to process through a denial should you have one. My name is Latasha Bird. I'm the Multicultural Outreach Coordinator for Family Network on Disabilities, where we are striving for complete integration and equality of people with disabilities and a society without barriers. Now, on the same RSVP SMORE flyer, there's a link here to schedule a live workshop for your organization or just to receive added information at a later time. Please use this link, send your request there. It takes you directly to our inbox, and you can put in all the information that you would need, and we can facilitate that request for you. Please make sure that you let us know where you are living in the state of Florida so that we could direct you to PTI that is closest to your region. I can be reached at lbird@fndfl.org and also by phone at 1-800-825-5736. Remember to visit our website at www.fndusa.org. And with that, we want to say again, thank you for joining us. And should you have any further concerns or just need added information, we are only a click away. Our motto is that we are here to help. And we sure hope that we have done that for you today. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Take care.